Speedway tends to be fairly top dominant early in the night. Starts and restarts on the bottom can cost you a spot or two until you can fight your way back up into the top groove. As the track deteriorates, right along the front stretch wall tends to get fairly rough, which can really upset the car getting into turn 1. And also watch for drivers to struggle staying on the racing surface as the top groove gets closer and closer to the edge of the track, because it can really send you for a ride.
Perfect.
Ryan show. Who is going to come away with the lead and the win in this one? So far, Beagle looking good, but Susie's keeping him honest.
Yeah, this is becoming the Ryan and Ryan show in 2 red and black cars. We've seen this before. I was wondering with the yellow, would have gotten a chance to talk about it for a second there. Is that the opportunity? Man, they're 3 wide for 4th place back there, too. Is this the opportunity that these guys needed to put a fight to the big dog? Ryan Susie says yes. And if he could finish this off, man, I mean, that would be pretty special to see him go from last to first in this feature. He's going to have 2 more laps around the circuit to try it.
He's got to almost do exactly what he did to get past Dean Reynolds. Oh, maybe a bit of a mistake there from Beagle. Beagle got tagged the wall just a little bit more. And remember, Susie followed the tire tracks of Reynolds, got right up to that bumper, and then at the last second turned down to throw the slider. Coming now around one more time. Susie, can he get close enough to do something? We've got a barn burner from Charlotte for the final time into 3 and 4. Beagle goes to the bottom to protect the slider. Susie goes to the high side. Coming down the front stretch, it's going to be all Ryan Beagle. The big dog puts on a dominant performance, and wow, 1 spot short for Ryan Susie.
Life, I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah,
to appreciate all that is vacant. It's just for the taking. If you make up your mind, you can take it. I'm never complacent. I would work in a mansion or basement, yeah. There's no replacement for persistence. It's a patience, yeah. In this life, I wanna be soaring, to feel sun inside when it's pouring. And I'll fight till anxiety is foreign. I'm so sick of my mind's extortion.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be.
As we move closer to the championship round of this league, the strategy of small block versus big block rears its imminent head for the guys who've waited for the end of the season to start ticking off those boxes. One of our strongest competitors for the championship is in this boat, while many others are 1 or 2 runs away from the all clear on the matter. Whatever car you bring, The racing will be as intense as ever from now to the end, and especially with a track like Lernerville Speedway. From the virtual Sarver, Pennsylvania, this is the BRP iRacing Series, live on BRPtv. Joe Donahue and Jonathan Howe bringing you the looks live here on YouTube, and ready to go with our final visit to the Keystone State this season. This is the Steel City Stampede, and Jonathan, this race is going to surely be as hectic as a real Stampede here at the track with the least forgiving high side of any race on our calendar.
It certainly is, Joe. I mean, I had the pleasure of having Dean Reynolds on the podcast a little earlier in the week. That dropped last Friday, actually. And he even mentioned that, it's really easy just to be going for passes and then just accidentally push your competition up and over that hedge. Locally, it kind of feels like a Humberstone Speedway for my friends in Southern Ontario with the, no walls, lots of room to run off. And that might play into the hands of some of our local heroes, I think. At least the Southern Ontario guys that have maybe had a chance to run or spend a lot of time at Humberstone.
For sure, and it's definitely going to feed into the favor of some of the guys who are used to these PA tracks. We have spent 5 races this season, which is a quarter of our season, Jonathan, at Lernerville, Port Royal, and Williams Grove. We didn't even hit Lincoln, and we've still got 5 out of the 20 races in Pennsylvania. It's been a wild ride for these guys, and I think another thing that we should mention is that we've been here already this season, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was our second race of the year, right? So reflecting back on that, it was kind of the usual suspects who won that one. Brandon Plank, Cody Higbee ran second, Gavin Isley third. But then a little bit further back, you had Ryan Susie in fourth and Ryan Beagle, the Ryan and Ryan show, who we saw what they could do last week, battling it out for a win. They rounded up the top 5 the last time we were here. So who knows what Lernerville has to offer for us this time. And I think we got total 4 small blocks in the field as well. So it's going to be interesting to watch the big blocks battle it out, and I'm pretty sure the small blocks are going to... I don't want to say they're going to struggle, Joe, but I think today is going to be one of those disadvantaged times, I think.
It's definitely going to be an uphill battle for those guys. Now, we did see a fair amount of people bring small blocks out the first time we raced here, and it didn't hurt them a ton, it didn't help them a ton, but tonight, big news is that Gavin Isley, who's up at the top of the leaderboard alongside Jamie Porter, they've both brought a small block out tonight, as well as Tyler Joshimbowski and Alan Slight. So a lot of guys who are usually pretty strong, and especially guys who are looking at that championship hunt, they brought the small blocks out to try to tick those boxes off. And I believe of the group of them, none of them are going to be done with small blocks, so nobody's going to be completely done for the night after this race, or done for the season, rather, after tonight. But you need to get those races in, and of the races left, this isn't a terrible pick.
No, I was kind of surprised. I kind of thought there'd be more small blocks, honestly, tonight. Looking at it, there was total 8 drivers who looked like they just need one more to cross it off, and they're waiting it out still. I'm not sure where it's going to be. I think Matt DeRitter, is Matt in a small block? I'm not 100% sure if Matt's in one tonight. But Matt DeRitter, Cody Higbee, Liam Daniels, Dean Meitzler, Corby Daniels, Jeff Sharp, Travis Cunningham, and Ryan Beagle are all one small block start away from wrapping up their 8 for the year. Jamie Porter's start tonight will bring him within 1, and same with Alan Slate, and same with Josh Mbowski as well.
Yes, and we keep talking about this. This isn't something that the guys just do for fun here with the BRP iRacing Series. It's not just about, hey, I want to bring a small block out and make my night a little bit harder every week. They do that so that they're eligible for the points championship. And Jonathan, coming into this race, we've started accounting for the drop week points in our point standings, and we've got a pretty tight race at the top. Ryan Beagle, Cody Higbee, Jamie Porter, Gavin Isley, and Brandon Plank, who at least at the moment is not yet here. And I don't think we're going to see Brandon Plank tonight. We only got 1 minute left before qualifying, but the race up at the top of the standings is quite a doozy.
Yeah, it's definitely a tight one. I thought it was going to be a little bit tighter, but I think the Ryan Beagle win last week really spread things out more than maybe either of us anticipated, at least more than I anticipated for sure, Joe. But I still think that we're going to be in for one heck of a fight coming down the stretch. I mean, Cody Higbee just 6 points back. Jamie Porter just 12 points back. Gavin Isley right there with 14 points back. And then you get a little more separation. You know, Plank and Miller, I think we both know they're probably going to be out of the championship battle. Porter's got to miss some time too, so we're not 100% sure what his championships run is going to look like just yet, but there's lots of storylines to follow, and who knows if somebody else gets back in it, like Ryan Susi, who's had some pretty strong runs as of late.
Definitely could see Ryan Susi get back into things. He'd have to start picking up those small block races because he's a little short on it. I think one of the biggest headlines that we have for the group watching us here as we move into qualifying is that Ryan... Oh, okay, there he is. I was about to say Ryan Beagle isn't here, but he actually did join the session, so our championship leader is present. I was about to call that, so good thing I double-checked there real quickly right before we jump over into the qualifying session, and we'll see who comes out first. We'll see if Ryan Beagle goes out quickly because he's the championship leader. And no, we'll give some hometown heroes the spotlight to start off qualifying. Dean Meitzler rolls out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, Dean looked pretty fast. He's been able to turn some quick times when he needs to. I got to give a shout out to that was kind of a mismatch at the top for the practice board. Travis Cunningham, my pal, ended up third fastest in practice before the racing action. We'll see if that translates to qualifying and if Travis or anybody else can start up towards the front half of the field. Dean looking pretty smooth so far. Also on track, it's Dirty Dave DiPetro in the 68 machine.
DiPetro gave us that track tour in the pre-stream video. His first lap goes up on the board, and he gets a 15.986, puts him into... Actually, you know what? He must have gotten into the wall because it didn't count the lap. Matt DeRitter's put up the fast time so far, and that's almost... I wouldn't even say that's a surprise anymore, Jonathan, because he's been pretty good at these intermediate length tracks lately.
Yeah, it seems like the smaller the racetrack, the more it plays into Matt DeRitter's favor. Definitely he has found a lot of speed throughout his time in this series. And Pat Reiser also up there as well. That's kind of a name that I don't think any of us really expected to see. Susi up there, that's one that we probably did expect to see. He's been pretty bad fast lately. And there's my man Travis Cunningham. Let's see what he can post his time.
First lap time's 12th quick for Cunningham, 15.451. He's a little over a tenth off of the car in 11th, which is Dirty Dave, but lap number 2, usually a little bit quicker, so let's see if Travis can get better on the second attempt, and that is going to be a negative 15.5 that time around, so he will not improve that time. The other Travis of our series, Travis Miller, comes around to put up a nice run. He's actually going to jump himself all the way up into the top 5 with his first lap in that red number 22 tonight. Let's see what he got on lap number 2. And it's going to be a little bit slower, so it's not going to get him up further on the board. But, hey.
It's odd to see so many laps getting slower as the runs go on. I figure, you would want to have a run, Joe, build up some momentum, and maybe the second lap you might be able to get in something a little bit faster. But so far, not quite the case for these guys.
Well, and it's interesting, too, to see that because, you run a little bit of fuel out of it, and the tires get a little bit up to a better temp. You kind of get your P's and Q's in line on the first lap, and you'd think the second lap you'd be a little smoother. So kind of surprised that so many of these guys are not putting up quicker lap times the second time around. The Beef's the last guy to get a qualifying lap in. Actually, maybe Dylan Davidson will get one in. The Beef jumps himself up to 7th on his second lap, so there's somebody who improves. And Dylan Davidson is going to get cut off. He did not get out onto the racetrack quick enough. And we're going to jump into heat number 1. He will not get a time to start off the night. But, Jonathan, let's bring you bring them, the viewers, their first starting grid of the night.
Yeah, it goes like this one, Joe. We got Matt DeRitter starting on pole alongside Pat Reiser. Then it's Travis Miller in the 22, lining up third to the inside. And on the outside, Corby Daniels in the 88. Good time for Corby. The Beef up there starting well. Ryan Beagle will start 5th in the 84. Then it's the 71 machine of Liam Daniels. Dave DiPetro is going to line up 7th. Travis Cunningham 8th. Gavin Isley is going to line up 9th. And I believe we've got one more tag in the field.
Yes, we do. It's Alan Slate.
It's Alan Slate, in one of our small blocks.
Yep, so we got 2 small blocks at the tail end of this group. We're going to have 2 heat races tonight, so there will be 2 in each of them. We are going to have Isley and Slight in this one, taking up the last row on the grid. There is the 03 and the 33, 2 surprise quick timers from tonight's qualifying session. Matt DeRitter in the MDR Designs machine. Spent the day working with him on some facelifts for our broadcasts to bring you guys the graphic updates that hopefully will get to us by the end of the season. And Pat Reiser pulls out the Greg Hodnett tribute car. He raced that at the Grove. He raced it at Port Royal. That is a tribute to one of the greats of sprint car racing, especially in Pennsylvania. So you know he brought it out because we're back in the Keystone State. But we got a really nice front row. And how about Miller and the Beef in row number 2 as heat number 1's going to come into 3 and 4, Travis? I'm going to let you have it.
It's going to be Matt DeRitter lining up on the inside. He will have control of this one. And on the outside, looks like Matt just didn't really get going. And it's Reiser who's going to jump out to an early advantage. And Miller also getting a pretty good start. He's already challenging for second, trying to work over DeRitter on this first lap. Oh, and there's the Beef going off the high side. Like we talked about how treacherous it is on that high side. If you start on the outside, you could easily get pushed off or just even overrun it just a little bit, Joe. And you saw Beef really demonstrate what exactly can happen.
Yeah, Beef just a little bit off of his own mark there, and unfortunately up and over the berm. That's how it goes here at Lernerville. Very unforgiving up top. Pat Reiser leads the way. We got a nice little battle here with Cunningham. Well, maybe not as much anymore as we saw, but Slight's giving him enough of a hustle right here. So that 358 inside the 2 car, that's keeping up pretty well with the 90 machine.
Yeah, you can see him working to the inside, Joe, and that's probably the smart thing to do. Try to shortcut this racetrack as much as you possibly can with that motor, because even if you keep it wound up around the outside, everybody else is running the top side right now, so it's not like you're going to make up any time up there. So just try to take the shortest distance if you can. Not able to really set anything up that time as we go back towards the front half of the field here. Reiser getting worked over by DeRitter, and Miller lurking there as well in third as the top 3 cars are kind of broken away in this one.
Now these guys just got to be careful that they don't get any of their lines wrong or run into each other or anything like that. You guys have bonus points for these heat races getting into the top 4 positions. Right now, Reiser's got 4 bonus points coming his way, and DeRitter's got 3. It's not a ton of points, but it does matter in the championship, and especially with the championship as close as this, you just want to make sure you maximize the opportunity. So don't get into each other. As the white flag comes out, just get around one more time, and you'll try to at least pick up 2 bonus points here for this group.
One more time around. Will DeRitter try to win it, or will he ride and try to hang on to those bonus points? He's going to sail it in on the inside, have a look. Miller's having a look down there as well. Neither of them are going to make it stick. Reiser gets the win.
Pat Reiser, Matt DeRitter, Travis Miller, Ryan Beagle. That is the top 4 at the end of the first heat race of the evening, and that's Pat Reiser's first heat race win with the BRP iRacing Series. Congratulations to car number 33 for that one. Going to wait for the session to skip over into our second heat race of the night. Having a little bit of a hold here from iRacing as it's going to give a second, and there we go. Pace truck gets lined up and ready, and we're going to bring the second group of them to you here with the second starting grid of the night.
And it's going to look like this, Joe. Cody Higbee on pole, and then Ryan Susi will line up second on his outside. Then it's Tyler Pacholski with a good starting spot. Starting third in this one, Dean Reynolds will line up fourth. Jeff Sharp in the 28 lines up fifth alongside Dean Meitzler in the 49. Then it's Adam Hilton in the 3. Tyler Joshabowski in the 088, which is a small block tonight, as well as Jamie Porter's number 45, which lines up ninth. And Dylan Davidson's going to round out the field of 10 cars in this one.
And Dylan Davidson did get in. iRacing's having a little bit of a tough time figuring out whether or not the 73 car is here or not, but pretty clearly we can see that car on screen right now. He is in the big block, and he's getting pretty close to being on the chopping block for that, although he's missed a few weeks, so he's probably just here to have some fun tonight with that 73 machine. And you can see he's having some connection issues. That might be why he did not get out on the qualifying lap in time for it to actually count. So Cody Higbee and Ryan Susi are going to lead us back to the green flag to start off this heat race. Jonathan, that is a heck of a duo to lead to the green.
Yeah, Cody Higbee's had kind of a quiet stretch of races through February. We'll see if he can get back to some of his success. Meanwhile, Ryan Susi's kind of gone the opposite way. He's gotten really hot over the last couple of races, and he's kind of just out there having fun at this point. I don't think Ryan's going to get all the small blocks in. Not even sure if he can at this point, but we'll find out as we get ready to roll green here. Higbee and Susie into turn 1 side by side. Higbee using the low side. A lot more drivers in the field committed to the inside as opposed to that first heat. We'll see if that keeps up throughout this one. Around the outside comes Susie. And, oh, hang on to it. A couple cars bouncing off each other at the back there. Meitzler almost went off the high side, and then Josh Szymbowski gets a piece of him. As Davidson trying to get by as well. The Double D machine trying to get towards the front here as we flash back towards the front. Cody Higbee losing lots of track position in this one. He's dropping towards the back. He'll drop to 4th from the pole.
That's tough for the 97 car. He was really looking for opportunities to get bonus points here, especially considering Beagle only got 1 point as the championship leader. Higbee was looking for a couple. He could have maybe made a little bit of a dent in that lead. Ryan Susie says, no, thank you. I'm going to take it for myself and my 38 team. Right now, Tyler Puchalski's holding on pretty well, too. We'll give him some credit. He did have a fairly okay run here going last time we raced at Lernerville. Unfortunately, it did not go his way by the end of the night, but that's a guy who can hustle the high side a little bit, and he's definitely one of the guys who's the least scared of going over the berm, so watch that 21P to do something tonight. Right now, just kind of lurking in second place in this heat race.
Yeah, Tyler, another one of those local guys who's definitely got some experience turning laps around Humberstone Speedway, which, again, this is very similar, at least in terms of the vibe of this racetrack. For all my friends in Southern Ontario, that's kind of what I'm picking up from watching these cars go around Lernerville. And Puchalski's doing a good job of keeping the pressure on Susie, keeping him honest. If Susie makes a mistake, I think Puchalski's got all the speed to just blow right by him. We'll see if he makes a move here towards the end of the race and tries to get to the inside, as it's been a good race from the 21P thus far.
And he dives for maybe a slide job opportunity to take the lead on the white flag lap. Susie does the crossover. Over and under goes the 38 and back into turn number 3 and 4. No challenge from any of them. Ryan Susie's going to win the second heat race of the night. Puchalski, Reynolds, and Cody Higbee are going to round out the top 4 and get themselves some championship points. Not too bad, but Ryan Susie doing what he needs to do.
And I think that was important to watch there, Joe, is not just important for Tyler, who tried to pull off that slide job, and Ryan Susie, who successfully crossed him back over to keep the lead, but just important to watch for all of us to see how these might work a little later on in the night. If the slide job is going to be an option for these guys, which I think out of 1 and 2, I don't expect to see a ton of slide jobs, but into 3 and 4, especially where you've got that kind of wall to maybe almost bounce yourself back off onto the racetrack, I think 3 and 4 is the place to try it if you got to throw a slider.
Definitely going to be the place to try to do that kind of a move. But over the course of the night, do you think that it's going to get easier or harder to do? That's the question. Based off of how slick it's going to get and how much momentum you're not really going to be able to control if you send in a big slider.
Well, I think the biggest thing, as we saw, I think that's Adam Hilton went for a wild ride. I think the biggest thing, Joe, is going to be how much the top side wears out. Because if you can still drive up off the corner on the top side, even after it's worn in, then I think the slider might kind of be like a moot point. However, if they really wear this top side in and they got to start exploring this racetrack for some fresh real estate, I mean, I think the slider could be pretty successful, especially, like I say, up off of 3 and 4 where there's a little... It shouldn't feel like there's room for error with the wall right there, but if you slide it off the backside, you're going to have to try to maintain, jump back on. Like, it can get tricky and it can get ugly pretty quick if you try a slider and it goes wrong coming off of 2.
It is an interesting way to think about it, that the wall here, just because there is no wall 90% of the way around the track, the wall actually makes you feel as if it's more forgiving, just because you have something to bounce off of instead of flying up into the air. Interesting way to look at it, but you're right. That's definitely how I feel, at least when I rip around Lernerville in the simulator. So we're into the warm-up session. We're about halfway through the warm-up session. We haven't taken a second yet to make a shout out to all of our series partners, so we want to do that really quickly and thank everybody who comes along for the ride with us, as well as everybody watching here on BRPtv. Shout out to my dad, because I know he's watching downstairs. We want to make special shout outs to MDR Designs for a lot of the paints in this series and a lot of the graphic work with the BRPtv platform. You can hit up Matt to find out more information on what he can do for you. Jam Performance, if you know, you know. Creative Turnings based out of Waterford, Connecticut. Those are custom lathed pens, charcuterie boards, bowls, etc. can go onto Facebook and hit up Dan over there with Creative Turnings to find out more about what's available. The Super Dirt Car Series is back in action. They're a proud supporter of our series as well. We appreciate them coming on board. You can check them out on Dirt Vision and the Super Dirt Car website. Dig Race Products at the Track Shock Service. Brandon Plank is a regular in this series. He's a part of that program in upstate New York. You can hit up digraceproducts.com and find more information out about what they can offer to your racing record. BRPtv, that's us. Happy to bring you the BRP iRacing series exclusively this season. 47 Technology with custom 3D printing work, and the Southern Ontario Dirt Show, who got to take this guy, Dirt Car Deed, in for an interview that Jonathan has mentioned already tonight this past week. So a lot of great partners, a lot of great sponsors, a lot of great people, and it all brings itself together with a minute and a half left in this warm-up session before we get going in the Stampede tonight. Jonathan, last thoughts as we're seeing the track get worked in and get pretty slick with 1 minute left in this warm-up session before we get that starting grid. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts, Joe, are I'm starting to wonder how many cautions we're going to have, because that's the only thing that we really haven't touched on yet. I feel like there's not a lot of real estate. We've got 20 cars that are going to be running around this place. It sure seems like the top side's already worn out, so everybody's going to be fighting to the middle and maybe the bottom side and maybe even the extreme outside if you can swing it. I feel like we're prone. Almost maybe I'm trying to reverse jinx this maybe a little bit, but I feel like this race is going to be prone to some cautions and seeing a lot of that yellow flag, or at least more than we want to. But I'm hoping it's the opposite. Maybe try to reverse jinx it. But that's the first thing I want to do is just get through some laps. Let's get us some clean green flag laps in, Joe, and then try to settle it at the end. And if it's got to be in a 10-lap shootout or a 2-lap shootout, fine, so would be it. Let's keep it clean, though, for the first little bit.
Try their best. I wonder if it's going to be more likely to have a cleaner race than the last time we were here, just because we have 6 less cars than we did when we came to Lernerville for the first time this season. But there's only one way to find...
That's a great point.
It's something to think about, but there's only one way to find out about that, Jonathan. And as the guys are going to pull off the racetrack and get ready to go, why don't we go ahead and try to bring out the starting grid for the Steel City Stampede. Starting on the front row, we've got the number 33. That's the Teach, Pat Reiser. He will start on his first pole of the season alongside Ryan Susi, who's got himself 2 wins to the season. Matt DeRitter starts on the inside of row number 3 in the 03 machine with Tyler Pachalski to his outside. Then we've got Travis Miller in 5th and Dean Reynolds, Dirt Cardine, in 6th place. Starting 7th is the big dog in the 84. It's Ryan Beagle, and to his outside. Second place in the championship is Cody Higbee, only second to the guy he's starting on the outside of, Mr. Beagle. Dave DiPetro starts the number 68 car on the inside of row number 5, and to his outside in the 3A, rounding out your top 10, is Adam Hilton. Starting in 11th is going to be the number 90 Southern Ontario Dirt Show machine. That's Travis Cunningham, and to his outside, the MDR Designs BRPtv 28. That's Jeff Sharp. The Slight Electrical number 2 starts in unlucky position number 13. Alan Slight will be to the inside of the number 73. That's Dylan Davidson. Starting 15th, had a good run, started in his heat race, looking to get back up into the fight. Is going to be the Beef in car number 88, Corby Daniels. Dean Meitzler out of Pennsylvania will roll off 16th. Starting 17th in the small block tonight, one of our championship hopefuls is Gavin Isley, and to his outside will be the 88T of Tyler Joshimbowski. Rounding out the grid is going to be Liam Daniels, the brother of Corby Daniels, in car number 71. And rounding out the grid is the Pistol, still looking for his first win of the season. Might be a safe bet to say he might not be competing for that win, but maybe Jamie Porter will pull himself a top 5 by the end of it. Tonight's race is going to be 60 laps around Lernerville Speedway. Reiser's going to get the first opportunity to fire the gun next time they come to this exact spot on the racetrack. 1 to go from Barney in the flag stand. And Jonathan, we're ready to rumble and play in the clay. Lernerville Speedway getting all hyped up. Hand it over to you, bud. I'll let you take the first lap.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, Joe. I think it's going to be a great night of racing here. Hoping for a clean one. Hoping for, I think, what I'm going to see is a lot of lanes developing. Pace truck is off. Field's starting to bunch up as we get ready to hammer it. Coming to the green here. It's a good start from Susi around the outside. He'll take the teach to school a bit and take the lead. And here comes Matt DeRitter out of nowhere. The 0-3 car up to second now, trying to make the move to the inside underneath the 33 as well. Ryan Beagle and Travis Miller also down there trying to make some moves. And I think we got issues towards the back. Yeah, we got Josh Mbowski flipping through the air. And that should bring us out to a caution early in this one.
Yep, that is Josh Mbowski, and you see him going kind of backwards. That's where the pit entrance is, so he'll take that 88T to the attention of his crew. Yellow flag comes out. They did get through turns 1 and 2 safely. Unfortunately for Josh Mbowski, not going to be any more of that same in turns 3 and 4. So let's go ahead and grab a replay screen, and let's see how this unfolds for the 88T.
You can kind of see they're kind of stacking up in front of the 88. I almost wonder if he's kind of last man in. Or maybe he's going to get some help here from the 45. Or maybe he's just going to do it himself. He will do it himself. That is the treachery of Lernerville. You go off that area where there's no wall, you can end up flipping quite aggressively. And that's exactly what happened to Josh Mbowski. Just ran it a little too high and slides off and goes for a bit of a barrel roll.
And that's all she wrote for the very beginning of the race tonight for Josh Mbowski. Now, fortunately, with iRacing, you can get yourself a fast repair, and that's what the 88T is going to do. So that car is looking fresh and just like new, because it is. And he will have a second go at a clean start. Unfortunately, this time, though, it will be from the dead rear of the grid as Ryan Susi comes under the flag stand. I believe we have the 1 to go this time. And we do. So Matt DeRitter will pull back to the outside of the 38 car, and we will be about 6 laps into this race and take another stab at a green flag start. Susi now has control rather than the teach, as he took him to school on lap number 1, like Jonathan mentioned. But now DeRitter's still in a good position. Does DeRitter have a better shot this time?
We'll see. I mean, he definitely anticipated that previous restart, but Susi is on it. He cranks it to the left and fires down the front stretch to see the flag first, and they're all fanning out behind them. Everybody clean and green so far, but there is not a lot of real estate out there. It can get hairy a little further back in this pack. Everybody mostly working towards the top side, but their leaders. Another one off. It's Davidson. We'll see if that brings out a yellow or not.
I think we're okay. I think we're going to stay green there.
Yeah, he kind of 360'd it pretty quick, it looked like, and then able to get back going again. So at the front, though, DeRitter and Susi, a good little battle to start this race.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised by Susi running all the way down low to start this event off, because the top side is kind of the way to go normally around Lernerville, but we really did work it in a lot in that warm-up session. So I'm also, as much as I'm surprised to see everybody digging down low, I'm not really super surprised just looking at the track as the yellow comes out now, and I think this one's going to be on Dylan Davidson. And it is, yes, and he is stuck on the inside wall, so if he can't find reverse, which I don't think he's going to be able to do. There he is. I spoke too soon. Found reverse, so he doesn't have to reset himself, but we'll get a replay here and see what happened to the Double D car. We're going to be a little bit behind here just in case something happened. Maybe in the entry of turn 3, you can see that Dylan's already way off on his own. So he got a little bit of contact there, Jonathan, off of that first bit on the restart, and this is probably going to be a extension of that.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't think the car is too heavily damaged from the initial contact, but it looks like he's going to just slide up, lose it just a little bit, and try to lock it down. And when he does that, I think he just wants to get to the inside and avoid not taking out any leaders or anything. So probably a smart decision, even though it brings out a caution. Probably the smartest thing you can do, because if you don't get going and you pull out in front of the field, that gets ugly real quick.
Well, the two options there, I think, for Davidson were to cause a caution down there or cause a caution by wrecking the leader. So pretty heads up to just get out of the way, wait for Matt or Corby to get in a yellow flag for the session and just ride it out, wait for that, then get back onto the tag the tail of the grid. Don't lose a lap. He wouldn't lose a lap for that, which is another important part of that. So he will be a lap down as a result of the first incident, but not the spin. And we're double file, ready to go for another green flag attempt here. We have a few laps of green in so far. We'll see if we can get a couple more in.
Going with the double file restart again here. And the front half of the field looks to be pretty orderly so far. DeRitter does a better job staying with Susie this time, but Susie's committed to that low to middle groove around this racetrack.
Oh, is that Hilton? Yeah, that was Adam Hilton over the barrier. And that's not quite a yellow yet.
He's going to be able to get it going again.
I think we're going to stay green here. Pretty minor for flying over the berm.
I mean, as long as you don't roll it over, I guess, right? If you fly off that berm, but you can keep it straight. I mean, heck, I've seen cars end up in cornfields, and I mean, I think after a certain point in the cornfield, they'll probably bring a yellow out. But I don't know. You know what? I say, as long as they're not in trouble and they can maybe right themselves, things will be okay. As it looks like, is that the 21P that's already gone to the pits?
Yeah, I tried to get Pachalski there quickly because something happened and he had to take it back to the pits really quickly. We just saw a slider for the lead from DeRitter, and Susie gave a big shove to the tail of that car once he got by, but no yellow on Pachalski's incident. He must have flown way off the racetrack so far that it didn't affect anything. And now Susie's starting to drop a little bit. He's back to third.
Yeah, Miller's since gotten by here as there's been some chaos around this racetrack and throughout this field. But up at the front, hey, Joe, where was that slider thrown, by the way?
Oh, well, hey, Jonathan, you've proven that you know what you're talking about. It seems to be the place to do it. Now, it's also, I mean, the track's really working in, but you were right about where the sliders need to happen to maximize the amount of grip you've got, because especially on an entry for 1 and 3, I think it's getting a little slick.
Yeah, it sure looks that way. The handling is definitely going to be a factor in this one. And I almost wonder, Joe, with them going to the bottom side so early in this one, I almost wonder if they're going to wear out the bottom and middle grooves, and we'll see the pack start to migrate back to the top side towards the last half of this race, as we're 20 laps into this one so far.
We're 20 laps in, and that's a third of the way. We're kind of waiting to see it. Travis Miller is one guy who hasn't really been migrating much around the racetrack. He's just kind of been staying up to the top in 3 and 4 and sort of in the middle in 1 and 2. That's kind of been his preferred way around the track a couple of these last laps, and it's gotten him into second and kept him there, so he'll probably stay for a little while. We've got plenty of time left in this race. You don't need to do anything crazy yet. Just get to at least 20 laps to go before you start thinking about doing something nuts, but they call him the Thriller for a reason, Jonathan, so he'll be one to watch by the end of it.
Certainly, and as long as he and Susie keep battling like they've been, especially through 3 and 4, I mean, that's going to be the best thing for Matt DeRitter, who's been able to maintain an advantage as we go on board now with Ryan Susie. You can see him work the inside line this time through 3 and 4, really sails it in. He's got great entry, but the drive off is definitely sacrificed by that low lane, as you can see Miller go back around the outside.
Oh, yeah. Miller's got what, 10 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour on him out of the corners. You see Miller runs that sort of middle line in 1 and 2. Susie a little higher on the racetrack this time. Does he diamond? Yes, but not going to get much out of it. Miller might even have something to say to our race leader now as he is closing in on the 03 machine.
Yeah, Miller's starting to drive away from Susie. You can see him use this outside groove, finds just the right amount to lean on that cushion on the outside through 3 and 4, and you can see he really closes in through 1 and 2. 1 and 2, he's kind of taking that middle to inside groove as well, and then sliding up the racetrack. But here around 3 and 4, he's able to just keep it wound up around the outside, and that gives him a lot of momentum to close onto Ritter, as they're going to start to see lap traffic here shortly, Joe.
Yes, they are. DeRitter is looking right at the tail. Adam Hilton actually did that once already. We saw him go to the outside of the track and let the field through once, and he's done it for the second time now. He's just trying to get through a couple laps here and maybe wait for a yellow to get a lap back, or just try to get some points out of what's going on. He is one of the guys we're watching to make a run into the top 10 in points by the end of the season, so he's just trying to get what he can out of the night, even though it didn't start the way he wanted it to. We still got a nice battle here for second. Miller and Susie now back into the clutches of each other. Those two guys, we've seen them fighting between each other a lot lately.
Yeah, and it sure seems like the top side has really gone away. Cody Higby's making it work around the outside. in 4th place. But through 1 and 2, Joe, pretty much everybody just staying off the high side, only going around the middle at the most. Miller going back to the outside. You can see him really try to keep that engine wound up. I almost wonder if you can string together a couple laps around the outside and then maybe make your move and throw one heck of a slider with all the momentum, right? I don't know if that could work in this game, but I feel like that's what somebody's going to have to do, is just run a whole lap or maybe lap and a half around the outside, keep as much momentum as you possibly can, keep that big block wound up, and then dive in and see if you can find a way past a Ritter.
So that very potentially could work. I mean, to do basically what you're saying is do what Travis Miller is doing, right? And for not maybe that time, but for the last couple laps, it seemed like do what Miller's doing and then just take a big send, like lick the stamp and really go for it. That could definitely work. I don't know if I would say it's going to work until we get a little bit more of the bottom side dusted off and used up, but definitely come the end of this race, that's a significant piece of the puzzle, is can you figure out the right slide line, do it at the right time, really, because even still, and I mean, we see Susi down there going into the grass. It did not work for him, but he's going down there to get the extra grip. There's still some life down low.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Susi caught the inside barrier, but look at the way that car kind of bounced out once it hit the grass, but he obviously drops a couple spots. Now you see Cody Higbee go to the inside of Miller, which I didn't expect to see that. I thought Cody Higbee would keep using that outside line because I think he's kind of got what I'm talking about figured out, where if you just keep the momentum wound up around the outside and then maybe you can make the dive bomb, but we got a yellow on the speedway, as that was setting up to be a pretty good little battle there at the front of this pack as one car way off in turn 1.
That is Tyler Joshimbowski, who gets sent back to the pit area, and he brings out a yellow that ended a fairly good green flag run there. Let's get a replay back on the 88T and see what happened. So he is alone here on screen. We'll see him and follow with him down the backstretch, and then we'll go through 3 and 4. Nothing's going to happen there. He's just going to rip the top side. This is where he stepped wrong at the very beginning of the race. He does not do so this time, albeit I wouldn't stick a piece of paper in between that right rear and the edge of the berm. And then he hits the wall out of the corner, and it's all wrong, and that's all she wrote. And then it's just out of his hands.
Yeah, that's when I was talking about maybe throwing a slider and maybe you could just gently brush the wall. That was a little more than like a gentle brush for sure, Joe.
Well, you definitely get a good look at the bottom side of a Bicknell Big Block Modified, rather. The bottom side of that car was visible for enough time for us to get a peek at it. And Joshimbowski, there's some pretty significant rear end damage there. You can see that he's knocked the rear end out of it and can't move, so he will take it to the pits. And unfortunately, he is not going to be able to fast repair this time. So we might not see the 88T come back out, or we might see him come back out, but it'll be a little while either way.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of our small block guys. There were 4 in total in the field, and they really haven't been able to make much ground towards the front half of this field. The big blocks are in control. And speaking of in control, it's going to be Matt DeRitter in control of this restart. He elects to use the inside line, and Travis Miller will have the Garden City 22 up on the high side for this restart. DeRitter punches it, gets a good advantage. We'll see if Miller can hang into turn 1. DeRitter kind of uses the middle of the racetrack, blocks things up. Good racing amongst the top 10 there, as you see Dirk Cardine and Beagle going at each other. Liam Daniels, Pat Reiser, and Travis Cunningham battling up there as well. Good racing deeper in the field for sure.
Definitely. Just wanted to go check in on everybody, make sure we all got clean through that restart lap. Matt DeRitter leads the way. One guy I want to check in on quickly is Ryan Beagle, who has been kind of lurking out just outside the top 5 the whole way through this race so far, but he's turned it up a notch here now. He's fighting into the top 5, and he's looking at Cody Higbee, who is right with him in the championship standings at the moment. So certainly if Beagle's looking big picture and trying to get a run for the championship, that 97's got a pretty big target on the tail end.
Yeah, and you can see them doing battle now as Beagle's using that outside lane. He seems to be the one driver who's using the highest point through 1 and 2. And then up on 3 and 4, he kind of uses the same line that Travis Miller's running. And seeing how that line pays off as the bottom side continues to wear in. Good battle for the lead there as Miller goes to the inside of DeRitter. They're side by side down the back straightaway into 3 and 4. Now Miller doesn't have the best line through 3 and 4 on the inside, and that actually allows DeRitter to go around the outside. I thought maybe that was going to be Travis's opportunity, having DeRitter to the outside where he hasn't really been for the majority of the race, Joe, but instead now he's falling back into the clutches. Miller's going to have to deal with Susie through 3 and 4, and DeRitter's going to try to scoot away with the lead.
DeRitter gets a little bit clearer. He'll breathe for a second. We're closing in on 10 laps to go. Ryan Beagle is getting the advantage of not having a crowded line. It seems like, especially for Susie and Higbee right now, maybe not so much Matt because he's the leader, but Susie and Higbee, they're getting crowded with how many cars are on the bottom side of the racetrack. We got a caution coming out. I believe this is on Liam Daniels in the 71 car this time. And it is, unfortunate turn of events for a guy who was just kind of minding his P's and Q's so far into this event. But let's get a replay back and see what happened to our friend in the 71 machine. Oh, this is going to include some other guys too, Jonathan.
Yeah, I don't think this is an isolated incident in any sort of way. You got Travis Cunningham on the inside there. Does this start in front of them? It looks like Liam's going to slide up. He's going to slide up, take a piece of DePetro, and then Pat Reiser gets a piece of it. Meitzler. Yeah, so it's just Liam not able to quite hold that middle line with Travis Cunningham to the inside and DePetro to the outside, and unfortunately it's Dirty Dave who gets the worst of it.
Yeah, and the yellow came out, and Liam immediately just set himself to the tail because he knew he was going to get an end-of-line penalty for causing that caution. So good on him to kind of wait up for the field to get past and let everybody get back into line the right place. It was, I mean, it's a racing deal, but it was his momentum that carried him into DePetro, so that is going to be the EOL penalty. That's what EOL stands for, end of line. And he will line back up right behind his brother, who really hasn't gotten quite back up into the lurking of things yet. Maybe he will yet because we're inside 10 laps to go, but we're not quite at the end of it. Still plenty of time to see something happen, and especially plenty of time to let Ryan Beagle get into the hunt as he's started to do so already. Green flag's back out, and Matt DeRitter leads us past the line.
Yeah, 10 laps to go, Joe. This race has really flown by as it's now 9 to go after the field goes by the stripe. DeRitter gets a great restart. This is exactly what he wants. Already a car length between Susie and Miller, who are going to try to fight for the right to go and challenge that 0-3 car. Susie's got the bottom side hooked up. Beagle and Higbee right there for fourth and fifth. Good racing at the front of this field. DeRitter doing all he can to keep these hungry drivers behind him.
And the battle is mainly for second right now, as DeRitter's kind of doing a Talladega or Daytona and blocking both lines in the corners and the straightaways. Miller and Susie can't get away around the 0-3 car of Matt DeRitter. Ryan Beagle, now Cody Higbee has fallen to fifth, and he rolls up to the top side behind Beagle. So the big dog's in the picture now. Susie's still trying to make the low side really work. And watch out here, because the Ryan and Ryan show is back on your screen. And which one's going to prevail? Susie's all over the place in the middle of the track there. It must be slick down there.
Yeah, Susie is really struggling on the inside. You can see DeRitter's moved off the extreme low side. He's running the middle and, like you say, making it wide, trying to do the best he can to block. Miller goes to the high side, but he hasn't really found the momentum around the high side to get up there and challenge. Now DeRitter tries to throw a block into turn one, and Miller's going to follow right in the tire tracks as they go down the back straightaway. This could be Travis Miller's opportunity into 3 and 4. He'll go around the outside. Beagle's upstairs, so is Higbee, but everybody chasing DeRitter still, who's got about a half car length on Travis Miller.
Miller still looking for a way around. Higbee's back into the picture. Just for a moment, he was ahead of Ryan Beagle. Beagle's got to try to figure something out that he can get around the 22 car. As 2 laps to go at the line. Chalk sticks up for the 0-3 machine as into turn number 1. Miller's still looking for a way around in the middle, and maybe he found something this time. As they come down the backstretch side by side, the white flag is going to come out for him next to the stripe, Jonathan, and we have ourselves a nice race to the end.
Good race for the final time around Lernerville. DeRitter doing all he can to hold off the low side and the high side. Miller gets a run down the back straightaway on the high side. He'll try to set the move up into 3 and 4. Beagle sets in to third spot. Higby in fourth, but nobody's going to catch the 0-3. It's Matt DeRitter who's going to grab the win here at Lernerville. Bit of a surprise, Joe, but maybe none of us should be surprised. We know how much he loves these short tracks.
Yeah, Matt DeRitter has been a step above this season what he has had in the past seasons of this series. He came into this season with 2 wins in all of the years that he's raced with this group, and he's just solidified himself his 2nd one of the season and his 4th podium of the season, which is, I believe, a record for him as well. You can hear him revving the engine. He is pumped up, and rightfully so he is, as we'll give him a quick second to get out of that race car. You get a good view of the 03 machine sitting in Lernerville's victory lane. What a performance by this guy. He was on the wall about whether or not to use a big block or a small block tonight, Jonathan, but I think he's ready for you, so we'll bring him down. And your race winner for the night, Matt DeRitter, is with Jonathan in victory lane.
Matt DeRitter, it's Jonathan Howe up in the booth, buddy. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. That was one heck of a performance you put on. Started third, drove up to first, led 45 laps of the 60. Talk to us about having to hold off. It seemed like pretty much the entire field. Everybody was trying to make a challenge at you at some point or another, but you did a great job holding everybody off.
Yeah, I just had to stay calm for sure. I know Miller's been irking for that win, and I just had to keep him behind me. You know, he's my teammate and all, but racing for a win, gotta do what you gotta do. So.
And talk to us about your line tonight, because it sure seemed like with the extensive warm-up session that you guys had and the heats and the qualifying session, the outside was pretty worn out, even though most of the field, especially through 3 and 4, were trying to use that outside line. But you were down kind of in the middle, not really quite on the bottom, but definitely not on the high side. So just talk to us about why that line was working for you and what you found down there.
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, going into this race, I didn't really want to touch the top too much. I knew it was going to be treacherous up there, but to be honest, just off that restart, seeing how well the middle played out, and I didn't feel like I had to go to the top at all. So just decided to stick to the middle and the bottom, and really watch how the lines were forming, and just carry the momentum around. It was definitely had to act as if there was an egg under the pedal, just trying to keep the throttle under me and hold a pretty wheel.
Well, you certainly did that tonight. Congratulations. Who do you want to thank for the big win tonight?
Just a big shout out to everyone that puts us on. Beaver for everything he does, and you guys for putting it on. Mom and Dad and Ash watching. The girlfriend, and MDR Designs.
Congratulations. There it is. Matt DeRitter puts the MDR Design 03 in victory lane tonight at Lernerville.
Thanks, guys.
And what a performance it was. Every time Matt DeRitter has won a race or gotten a top 3 this season, it has been a stellar performance from him. Just a classy guy and class act with the group, and a very classy run on the racetrack. We'll bring in the thriller, Travis Miller, who's gonna maybe had a woulda, coulda, shoulda. But Travis, you were one of the few guys who really pushed it to the high side throughout the course of this night. It's hard to say you left anything on the table for this one.
Yeah, I know. We were running pretty good up there. Just unfortunate, you can only take so many runs where you get squeezed up in the fence like that, and it's either lift or get junked, and you don't really want to throw away a good run like that. I know Matt's a teammate, but when you're gonna stuff other guys in the fence, it's not really a good look.
Well, you definitely were giving yourself an opportunity on the high side that nobody else was. Do you think that was part of the picture, just that the bottom side was so dominant the whole way through this race, a lot more dominant than we expected originally? Was that just kind of the way that things flowed out tonight, that since you were one of the few guys who was going up to the high side, you were kind of in harm's way for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure. Like Matt and Ryan were able to roll the bottom in 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 just so well. And I couldn't do it in 3 and 4. I tried once, and I think I just lost so much time to them. I didn't want to do it anymore. So I just tried to, just pedal it around the top of 3 and 4. And I didn't even want to try the top of 1 and 2. That I think that was no man's land up there until about 5 to go. So, congrats to Matt. He ran a good race and just hustled that bottom better than most guys I've seen. So, we'll just regroup and come back next week.
And what do you think about your looks for next week and the weeks after? Lernerville's a little bit different than the rest of the racetracks we've had. And we did run Charlotte last week, so they're both pretty close in the same length around. But we go back to the big bad Volusia Speedway next week. We raced there. First time we went to Volusia this season, you got a top 5. Do you have a little bit more under the hood for this next visit?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident about going to Volusia. I usually tend to run pretty good there, barring any contact or anything. So hopefully we can have a nice clean race and just keep trying to knock out podiums.
Absolutely, Travis. And before we let you go, anybody else you want to shout out or thank here on the broadcast?
Oh yeah, just Garden City Detail, BP Sports, B for putting this whole thing on, and thanks to you guys, and congrats to Matt on the win.
All right. Well, hey, congratulations to you, Travis. Second place ain't too shabby tonight.
Thanks, guys.
And there is Travis Miller, and we will send him back to the car and his crew, and we'll bring in the big dog, and the big dog in the championship he is too, Jonathan, as he's going to solidify that championship lead a little bit better, and we'll hand the mics over to you and him down on the front stretch.
Ryan Beagle, it's Jonathan Howe up in the booth. You got a copy, my friend.
Yep. How are you guys doing tonight?
Not too bad. Good show from you and a good points night as well. You come onto the night as the points leader, and you probably are going to extend that lead just a little bit more with a solid top 3 finish. So just talk to us about your night.
Yeah, I think we're about a 6th place car tonight, and cautions fell our way, and we got in the right line on the restarts, and kind of held on there at the end. I was waiting for Miller and DeRitter to go at it there, and maybe I thought I was going to sneak in, but we weren't so lucky.
And when you mentioned that restarts and lining up in the right line, this racetrack was pretty tricky, and you kind of had to move all over the place, find whatever grip you could lap to lap. Where did you feel like your car was working the best?
It was good all over. I just some guys are good at running the bottom, and some guys are good at running the top, and if you could do both of it, then you were really good. But I don't know. I was feeling pretty comfortable there at the end on the top.
Working the top side, you bring it home third. Great points night. Who do you want to thank for the drive tonight here and on the podium once again in the 84 RK?
Just everybody puts this on. You guys in the booth. Thank my sponsors: Ackland Insurance, RK Automotive, and APC Auto Parts.
Congratulations. There's your point leader coming into tonight and should walk away with that lead a little bit more comfortable. It's Ryan Beagle in the 84, finishing third.
And what a performance it was by all 3 of them. You imagine you have a 6th place car and you get a top 3. I mean, imagine if he had a race-winning car. We wouldn't have even had a fight up at the front. That's how good Ryan Beagle has been lately and consistent.
He really has caught fire, Joe. It's pretty impressive, the run towards the championship that the 84 has put on.
Definitely has been, and he's reaping the rewards of it. I mean, you reap what you sow, and his consistency has done that for him to this point in the championship. We still got a couple races to go, but he's looking in prime form to continue that run as we can pull our official race results from the event at Lernerville, the Steel City Stampede. Matt DeRitter with his 2nd win of the season. A great performance for him in the 03 car. Travis Miller will get his 5th top 3 for the season. Unfortunately, it is a 2nd place for him. The big dog, Ryan Beagle, championship leader, top of the power rankings. He gets 3rd. Cody Higbee comes home in 4th, which makes it 3 weeks straight that he has finished in 4th position. He's been 4th in our Port Royal, Charlotte races, and now add Lernerville to that list. Rounding out the top 5, Ryan Susi with a great run all the way through the night. He was competitive and a part of the picture. Dean Reynolds was a very quiet top 5 driver throughout the night, and if Beagle hadn't have really put on the afterburners, I think we could have been talking about Reynolds getting a 4th or a 3rd even out of tonight's show. Jeff Sharp, very solid run. He was at the top of the charts in practice tonight, so he kept that speed up. Dean Meitzler comes home 8th, the only Pennsylvanian in the field. Jamie Porter put on a barn burner with that small block. He doesn't get the top 5, but he got himself into the top 10. Not too shabby at all for the driver out of Canada. And then the Teach Pat Reiser started on pole. He will round out the top 10 for tonight's race.
Taking a look at the back half of the field here, Gavin Isley brings it home 11th. Travis Cunningham ends up 12th. Liam Daniels had a little bit of a adversity tonight. He overcomes his penalty to work himself back up to 13th. Dylan Davidson fights it up to 14th. Alan Slate ends up 15th in the small block. Then it's Dave DiPetro, who ended up one lap down after some troubles. Corby Daniels ended up missing a couple laps there. Same with Adam Hilton. Tyler Joshimbowski obviously had his incidents, and same for Tyler Pachelski, who rounds of the field of 20 cars, Joe.
And that is 20 cars who put on a great race tonight. I mean, we had a couple yellows here and there, but all of it together, I wouldn't say it was too bad. I mean, I was honestly expecting a little bit more throughout the course of the night, especially when we were in that warm-up session and we saw how much they worked in the top side of this racetrack. I am glad to see we got as much of a green flag run in the middle and especially at the end of this race.
Yeah, you know what? It was a little bit cleaner than I thought it would be. There wasn't really any big incidents, a lot of single car issues, and it was kind of perfect. It kind of broke up the race in just the right sort of way. Like you said, we got some good racing and good green flag action. I think ultimately, though, the thing I'm taking away from this, Matt DeRitter is a different driver this year. Like, obviously, this is my first time with the league, with watching you guys, but from everything I've heard, Matt DeRitter is taking another step in his iRacing career and his success, and it might be a little bit too late to get himself in that championship battle this year, at least in terms of maybe taking a podium spot in the championship, but he's definitely establishing that he's a contender for the next BRP TV season.
Yeah, he was the guy who was one of the most aggressive with the small blocks at the beginning of the season because he wanted to give himself opportunities at the end of the season to be competitive and to get top threes and to win races, and he got one at Cedar Lake, and now at the end of the season, he's still got one more left. I think he's going to use it maybe at Fairbury for that small block run, but he's definitely put himself in good position, and I think he maybe cracked the code a little bit on that strategy of when to use those small blocks up for this season. We want to make another quick shout out as we wrap the show up to our sponsors and partners, MDR Designs, Jam Performance, Creative Turnings, the Super Dirt Car Series, Dig Race Products, BRPtv, 47 Technology, Southern Ontario Dirt Show, Slight Electrical, Rust King Racing, Coda Construction, Costco Haulage, everybody who's supporting, everybody who's watching along with us. We had a good, I think, about 25 of us here for the race tonight, so thank everybody who showed up for the show tonight and enjoyed a good run with the Steel City Stampede. That's a mouthful. It's hard to get out. Any final words for you, Jonathan, as we wrap up from Lernerville and this beautiful night and look forward to going back to the fastest half-mile dirt track we've got, Volusia Speedway, next week?
Yeah, I'm excited to get back to Volusia. Excited to see who's going to be the one to step up and challenge Ryan Beagle in this championship as he takes another step towards really capturing the title this year in the 84 RK. But there's still plenty of time for contenders to emerge, and I think Volusia is going to really shake things up.
I couldn't agree more. I think if Brandon Plank's back, that's maybe a little bit of a shake-up too. But hey, Volusia next week, set to be a good one. If it's anything like tonight, you won't want to miss it, so be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for this YouTube channel, BRPtv, so you get the notification of when we go live in 1 week's time for our showdown to get into the final quarter of the BRP iRacing Series season. On behalf of the Beef, Corby Daniels, and tonight's winner, Matt DeRitter, with the series as the owners, and for Jonathan Howe alongside me in the booth, this is Joe Donahue from BRPtv signing off until next week. Stay safe, have a ball, watch some car racing. Mostly every racing series in America, at least, and even the world is back in shape. So next weekend, get on Flow Racing, get on Dirt Vision, get on the TV, watch NASCAR, F1, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, anything. Your weekly tracks. Go to your local dirt tracks if they're open. Some of the PA ones are. And on Monday night next week, get back on the computer, pop up BRPtv, and join us again. So until then, we'll see you. Take care. This is Joe Donahue, signing off.